Okay.
Guys, thank you so much for popping on tonight. We really appreciate your time, and we are so excited tonight because we have a special guest. Ashley messaged me before and said she was crashing the call, so I was even more excited than I was before. But two of my sweet friends, Dave and Ashley Walker. Dave is going to lead the call tonight, and he has such a great perspective on Plexus just as a whole, and I'm going to let him tell you his story. But just know he was a corporate coach, so he has that side of it, but then he's also now growing a team of his own. And Ashley, his wife, is the sweetest, and had when we met, she literally, like, I said, oh, I'm not a crier, I don't cry a lot, and literally within like 2 minutes we both were like bawling. So she's just an amazing person as well, and she is a Sapphire ambassador, pushing close to diamond, hopefully, fingers crossed, this month. So I'm so excited to welcome them both to our call, and thank you all for all popping on. Dave, I'm going to let you take it, so you, because you got so much to share. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. It's very humbling for anybody to ask me to jump on a call with their team, let alone Heather. My wife Ashley met Heather at a retreat, at Jen Hawkins' retreat, and came home and just told me, the Cliff Notes version, and I was a big fan at that point, and then we met at convention, and I met Harvey and got to hang out with him, and so we're just huge fans, so we're very happy to be here, and I appreciate you asking me. And I want to give you me before I kind of jump into the few topics that I want to touch on tonight, just so you kind of know who's talking to you. I spent 10 years in hospitality and in restaurant business, Omaha guy, born and raised. And so I worked for a restaurant group based out of Oklahoma, and would travel the country and open new restaurants and train servers and bartenders and general managers and everybody on their procedure. And I did that for a long time. And after 10 years, I needed something more. I wanted to be a part of something bigger. And I had missed 10 Christmas Eves, 10 New Year's Eves, 10 Valentine's Days, 10 Mother's Days, 10 Father's Days, days in the restaurant. So I would never have those days off. So I made a change. I was living in Phoenix, and I became, I guess, what I've looked at for a long time now is a career coach. I became a recruiter, a headhunter, and I worked with healthcare professionals. So essentially, I'd spend all day long, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., calling nurses, nurse practitioners, PAs, asking them where they had always dreamed of going to work. And then I would coach them through the application, the interview, their follow-up procedure. And when they were ready, I would call that hospital and I would say, hey, my name's Dave, and I got the perfect person for your job. And then I would sell that person to the hospital. And so it was really fulfilling, but long hours that ate me alive. Thank the good Lord that I got that job, because randomly through that position, a lady who I had partnered with and worked with HR at Plexus's corporate office. And she reached out to me and said, hey, I know you're crushing it. I know you're doing really well, but I need a recruiter to come and recruit for Plexus. And so I said, okay, well, let me go check this place out. I didn't know what Slim was. I didn't know I didn't know what they did, right? I didn't even know it was network marketing. Because, Phoenix, the greater Phoenix area, is home to the corporate office of a couple network marketing companies, and big ones, $2 billion companies. So I went out there and I checked it out, and it was like that moment. And I hear in Zooms like this where somebody's like talking about how they were driving home from when they were first introduced to Plexus, and they like pulled off the road, and they knew that this was brought to them by something bigger. And whatever. And I've heard stories like that. Well, that's what Walking Doors of Corporate was like to me. Like, it was like, it was this like glorious moment where everybody's walking around. It's kind of like the Twilight Zone almost. Like, it's smiley and laughing and high fives, and like they're having fun, right? So I fell in love with Plexus before I had ever taken a Slim. And so I got to see firsthand the character behind the individuals that are running the show there. And so over the next 4 or 5 months, I recruited the gentleman who just formulated Active. I recruited his boss. So I have close relationships with the gentlemen that are literally, it's 8:07. They're probably gone now, right? 6:07 in Arizona, but they're literally tomorrow at 8 a.m. They will be in the lab formulating the future of gut health and energy and so on and so forth. So I have close relationship with those people, not to mention, our sales team and so on and so forth. So to try to wrap our call up, at that point, I essentially sold myself to our vice president of sales as her next coach. I was tapping the coaches and the sales team that is currently developing and expanding into new markets and their international markets. I recruited those people. And so we needed 4 coaches. And she said, well, we have 3. Who's the 4th? And I handed her my resume. And I said, I'm the 4th. I'm the guy for the job. And so the rest is kind of history. I coached then at that point in the top 1% of our sales force. And that's, I got to partner with all of the top leaders, Emerald and above, in Canada, New Zealand, Australia, here in the States for about 2 years. And when it came time for me to make a decision in regards to future, I saw this business as a path for me, as a vehicle that I could use. By this point, of course, I'm in love with the product. And to backtrack a little bit, it took me over 6 months of working at the corporate office before I drank my first Slim. Full on skeptic. And I mean, there's like jars of it in the break room, like it's free, right? And ProBio and Block. I mean, everything's just sitting there, like here you go. And I'm like, it's cool. I eat really clean. I drink a ton of water. I'm very regular. I don't have 7 pounds to lose. Like it's not for me, right? So I'm coaching with this lady. Her name's Molly, and we're developing a 90-day plan. And she's like, well, if I'm going to work this 90-day plan, then you're going to drink Slim for the next 90 days. I said the same thing I said to you guys, to her, like 5 pounds to lose. Like I eat really clean, whatever. And she's like, that's the deal. You want me to work the plan? You drink the Slim. So nonetheless, 90 days in, again, fully compliant. I never felt so good, right? And I've been hooked, and I call it, since then, I call it my 13 servings of fruits and vegetables. Not because that's what these products are for me, but because I understand that I can't just eat them on Saturday and feel better all week. It's a consistent product. I have to take it every single day, right? And in terms of the eye health benefits that the Omega X gives me, that's not something that I feel. It's something that I need, my body needs. It craves those omegas. And so I need to take them every day. It's a proactive approach to feeling the best I ever have as I prepare to turn 40. So, since then, now I've been an ambassador for, 15 months, which is crazy to say. It feels like yesterday I started. In my head, after coaching with diamonds and sapphires and these people and very easily identify opportunity within their business, there's a big transition for me to go from a diamond and sapphire and emerald coach to a silver, right? There's a big transition for me, right? I didn't understand that friends were going to ghost me, right? I didn't understand that friends of mine for 25 years that joined me were going to quit 30 days later and potentially never speak to me again, right? Like I was like, come on, pick up the phone, guys, call them. And like now I come downstairs to my wife and I'm like, hey, like she won't answer. She will not call me back. And she's like, there you go, right? People will unfollow you. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. But so again, like I fast started gold. This is when Fast Start was still there. I fast started gold in 20 in my first month. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Like next month, senior gold, next, and I'm going to be the jewel this year, right? And so all that to say, like I fast started and then it took me 10 months to achieve gold because every month that I would recruit 3 or 4 would quit. And so I stayed that course. I'm going to touch on 4 subjects. And that was just, kind of an extended introduction to who I am and how I've gotten here. I will go Ruby this month, which is a really exciting thing. And it's been quite the journey that since, essentially February through now, for me to go from gold Ruby in that time, and from Ashley to to be pushing for diamond, which will happen this month, and that's really exciting. But I want 4 guys tonight. The most I'm going to give you a banger. Am I freezing? Is telling me unstable. Am I back? I'm back. Okay. All right. Thumbs up. So, I mean, the first one I want to touch on, and that's something that I've learned a lot about, and that I still have leaps and bounds of area of growth for, is what I touched on about what I fell in love with our corporate office first, and that's character. And so I didn't know what Alec and Tarl were selling, but I knew that the character of was going to propel that company to continued success. At this point, I think they were hovering, they made $100 million that year. I think projected to do over 800 this year. Don't quote me on that, but I knew that they had taken a company from nothing, where they were maxing out credit cards to pay commissions, in the beginning, to a $500 million company, and that doesn't happen. Character, and it's the same for us. And so the reason I bring that up is because character is a muscle that can be exercised. What you did yesterday does not determine who you are forever, right? Your past does not define you. Thank the Lord, because I'd be in trouble, okay? But I highly suggest, who here from a show of hands has, and those of you that I can see, has heard of John Maxwell? Maxwell? Okay. No exaggeration. So one of the things I did when I left, and I actually started this before I left the corporate office, was I became a certified John Maxwell coach. And it's a really cool program, and I teach on his stuff. And so I'm just a huge fan, and try my best, outside of months where I'm going Ruby and my wife's going diamond, I try to keep my nose in the John Maxwell book. But I don't care which book it is. If you went to Amazon tonight and you typed in John Maxwell and you closed your eyes and you click on a book, it is the best $12 you will spend this year. And I don't just mean in terms of plexus. I mean in terms of here. I mean in terms of your mindset. I mean in terms of your character. And so anybody that's going to take me up on that challenge is to, these books, the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, that's probably my favorite, okay? That book is not meant to be read in 2 weeks. Your character, you as an individual are not meant to grow that fast. We live in an era where I could click on Amazon and tomorrow I get my book. That's immediate gratification. That's not how personal growth works. And so I really start there. I believe it's a key component to what we have going on. I know Bob Heilig has said it before, and in our corporate office, representatives have said it before, that Plexus is a personal growth plan attached to a compensation plan. And so I want you to grow yourself, to have a hunger for that. Pick up one of those books. The reason I say that you can't read it in 2 weeks is because I want you to pick one up and read one chapter 3 times within a week. And then the second week, read the second chapter. And then the third week, read the third chapter. This should take 15 weeks, because you can't grow in 6 different areas in a week. And it's written so well that you could sit down and read 2 chapters in a night. But when you apply it to your life, it takes time, okay? Second thing is, I want to talk about something, and I'll steal this from Bob Heilig again, and I steal lots of his stuff. I actually got the chance to meet him at the Men of Plexus event at convention. And so I joke about this, because I'm full of women like this, that if you go to like the Jules event with Bob Heilig, there's a line. There's 350 women in line to meet Bob Heilig, the great, wonderful oh so handsome Bob Heilig, right? But at the Men of Plexus event, there's like 1,500 of us. There's 2 guys in line to meet Bob Heilig, right? So I stand in the 13-second line, and I come up to him and I shake his hand, and he had told us a story about how what we are seeing is 17 years in the making towards where he is in his career for 17 years. And I said, hey, Bob, nice to meet you. Dave Walker. I'm 17-year journey. I sure hope it doesn't take me 15 more years to get on stage, but I want you to know I'm coming for your job. And he said to me, he's like, my job is to train you so that you can take it, because you don't think I'm going to do this forever, do you? So, but I steal lots of his stuff. He's really good. There's so much of his content that's available free of charge. He does little free things, like things that I think would be really, really great for him. So the popcorn effect that he talks about is essentially, I think he uses that analogy because every single person, and most likely in the United States, has popped a bag of popcorn in the microwave before, right? Let's just say for purposes of this conversation, it takes 3 minutes. And so we all know what happens if you pop on the bag, right? Take it out once the popping, takes longer than 2 seconds or whatever it is, right? Because you popped it for 3 minutes. But what if you popped it for 30 seconds and then you took it out for 10 seconds? And then you popped it for 30 seconds and then you popped it for 30 seconds until you got to 3 minutes. At the end, you have 152 kernels and 3 things of popcorn, right? So he compares that to network marketing, because you can't work for 15 days and then take 10 days off, and then work for 15 days and then take 10 days off, and then work for 15 days and then take 10 days off. That's not how it works. I'm not suggesting as a team or as an individual, you should work 7 days a week. Truly not. I want you to have work-life balance. It is a key component, right? But what I am saying is that when we have monster months, we can never say, like, okay, for example, in March, between Ashley and I, we earned almost earned our 4th iPad. We earned 3. I think we had 22 level 1s or something that month, which is monstrous. It's like astronomical for us. And she's been doing it 6 years and is a seasoned pro. And so, but when people are like, what are you doing? Well, it didn't have nothing to do with what we were doing in March. It had everything to do with what we did in December, January, and February. It was the 90 days because when we were constantly filling our funnel. And what I mean by that is that we didn't get or like, I'm interested, that we stopped going to look for other people. We focused on those people. We responded to those people, but we continued to find more people that are interested. One of the transitions that was that I had to learn as I became an ambassador was that there's a huge difference between somebody responding to your post that says, I'm interested, and then it is to somebody that responds to your post that says they're interested and then makes a purchase, right? That conversation in there can be tough to navigate. And so we are always aware that we have to be constantly filling our funnel. We have to be constantly working, and it takes 90 days, not consecutive, 90 days, take some days off in there, consistency, in order to have that type of month where you earn your Nikes in 6 days. And you're like, how did that happen? When you start to find some traction as you're recruiting, as you're reaching out to your friends and family and coworkers and people you bump into the grocery store, right? That comes from that 90 days. So my mission is to constantly be, I say constantly, that's the wrong word, because in your head you think every single day, every single minute, right? Nooks and crannies, if that's what this is for you. I'll wrap up this section that I call the popcorn effect and constantly filling your funnel with, if you treat this like a hobby, it will pay you like a hobby. And if you treat it like a job, it will pay you like a job. Now, if you treat it like a business, it can change your life. It can change your life. Where, like, to the point that you're like, man, I wish I could just stay home. We travel so much, right? It can change your life. So I just want to encourage you to, to consider that, and it's not in a human's DNA to, like, do something for 90 days. Like, that's not the way we are wired. We're like, I want to do it for 30 days and then I'll take a month off. And like, I want to encourage you to work your tails off when you have the time outside of your days off for 90 days and put it to the test, because you're going to see results. So the third thing that I want to talk on here is a follow-up. And now there's a reason, there's a saying, the fortune's in the follow-up. And that's because if you don't follow up, there is no fortune. It is that simple. Now, oftentimes I get the question, like, what do you do? What is your system for follow-up? So I'm going to share with you something that works for me. And I'll tell you that even within the same household, Ashley does something different. Ashley will say, hey, Siri, remind me on next Tuesday to call Janet about her triplex and see how she's doing, right? So everybody has something different. So what I wrote down here in my notes is progress, not perfection, to have a plan. Somebody joins your team as an ambassador or a customer, a plan must be put in place in regards to communication between you and that person. And so, simply my opinion is that the first 30 and 60 days of a person being an ambassador are the most important 30 or 60 days. It can make or break their experience. So what I do is, as I'm signing somebody up, I say, hey, your product should be in the mail within the next couple of days. You get it. The minute you get it, I want you to shoot me a text so that I know you got your product. When they text me they got their product, I'm going to send them detailed instructions on how to best take it, what's the best time. I'm going to give them a plan. At that point, I'm going to give myself a calendar reminder 7 days later to reach out and follow up with them. I make sure during those instructions that they know that their body is going to take a step back before it takes a step forward, period, point blank. I tell them to expect their body to take a step back before it takes a step forward. You cannot eat biscuits and gravy and fried catfish po' boys better tomorrow. That's not the way this works, right? These are all natural. They are plant-based. It's going to take some time. I give them that fair warning. Then 7 days later, I reach out to them. I ask how things are going. I encourage negative and want to know the truth, right? Sometimes I'll hear from somebody like, and they're like 30 days in, like, well, I haven't really seen any results. Like, but I mean, I feel better. I have more energy and I'm sleeping like a baby. I don't feel so bloated. But I don't really know. You read what you just sent me, right? People wanna lose that 7 pounds like in the first 7 days, right? So first, I set a realistic expectation when I send them the directions, and then 7 days later, when I encourage negative and positive feedback. I set myself another reminder, 7 days, okay? And then after that follow up, I set another reminder. So you need to touch base with those people no less than 3 or 4 times in their first 30 days. This is a community that they're joining. Their commission, all things being real bluntly honest, their commission for you might be $15, right? We obviously care about their well-being and how they're feeling more than we do about that. If I don't encourage the negative feedback, then I can't help them make an adjustment on which products they should try to curb that negative feedback. If I didn't encourage negative feedback, I probably would have quit in her first 30 days because she was taking it the same way Ashley and I do, slim and BioCleanse first thing in the morning, and she'd get heartburn. So if she didn't tell me that she got heartburn, I wouldn't be able to say, okay, eat a banana first, and it's fixed. Eats a banana before she takes her slim, she's never felt the heartburn again. But if I didn't encourage the negative feedback, next thing you know, I got somebody who's had heartburn 30 days in a row, and they stopped taking the slim, heartburn's gone, so I'm just not going to do it anymore, right? So I want to encourage that. And I know more now, far more now, 15 months into being an ambassador than I did as a corporate coach, that this conversation is like kind of nerve-wracking. Like when you're reaching out, following up with somebody, like sometimes I hope they're feeling good, right? So, right, but I want them to know that if doesn't work for them, that I care about them, that's the reason I reach out to them in the first place. We should make some adjustments to try to help right this ship, or push through the detox that they are experiencing, show them that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and the tunnel's only 30 days long. Get through the detox. Let's get you going, feeling great. So follow. And again, create a system. I don't care what the system is. Put a system down. Some people will use like a tearaway calendar, right? You recruit somebody on the 3rd, put their name on the 10th, and put triplex under it so that you know what you're following up with them about, right? First follow-up, triplex, right? On the 10th, you talk to them, you text them, whatever it is, write their name on the 17th, triplex, second follow-up, right? Then write their name on the 24th, third follow-up, triplex, subscribe third, right? So that you can talk to them about that, like that, so that they know, hey, this safety net, your triplex is getting ready to ship to you. If this is still causing you an issue, I think we should add this instead of the BioCleanse or whatever. And lean on the people on your team that are comfortable to help guide that type of decision. I don't know where you all are in your journey. Some of you might be like, I'm not really sure how to suggest what's best. Okay, someone on your team is. And so the people that, that partner with me, the people that, sign up underneath me, they would much rather hear me say that I don't know the answer, but I know somebody heard information. Then I throw them in a 3-way chat, and I'm like, hey, Jenny, this is Ashley, my wife. Ashley, this is Jenny. We've known each other for 30 years. Jenny has a question about blah, blah, blah. Ashley's been in the business for over 6 years. She knows the product front and back. She's the girl for the job. And so immediately Jenny's like, Ashley knows everything. I'll listen to anything she says. It's called third-party validation. It's a very important tool. So if you're not comfortable to help somebody navigate the decision-making process because whatever products they started with not enjoying, then somebody on your team is a professional at this, okay? The last thing I want to talk on, and I consider, because it's not a word that any of us like, but it's part of life. And it's not just part of network marketing, it's part of life. Attrition. Who is familiar with what I mean when I say attrition? All right, okay. So attrition is a real thing. It doesn't matter what kind of business you are in. If you are a business and John Maxwell coach, if you have a taco truck, if you run a Plexus business, I don't care if you have the best carne asada tacos on the face of the planet. Not everybody that comes through line is coming back for another taco. That's life. Okay, so I want to address it. I want to let you know that it's not a Heather thing. It's not an Ashley thing. It's not a Dave thing. It's not a Maria thing. It's a people thing. People are going to quit. This is Hydroxycut. This is not a product that's going to help somebody lose 32 pounds in their first 14 days, meanwhile attacking their immune system and gut. That's not what this is. People are going to quit. And so the long and the absolute short, the straightforward Coach Dave in me says, bless and release. It is easier to give birth than it is to raise the dead. I'm not saying that from time to time you don't reach out to somebody that quit taking Plexus 90 days ago. I'm not saying that. They're going to continue to show up in your back office, continue to show up in your reports. I'm not saying that you don't continue to have a relationship or reach out to them to tell them about to plant the seed with them that we're going to launch CBD this year. To plant the seed with them that, hey, I know when we worked together at that office, you drank 2 Monster energy drinks every day. Have you ever considered something that's more natural and better for you? Right? I'm not saying that this person stops being a prospect. What I am saying is that we don't spend our time focused on the white lines within our report that say 0. It is time wasted. It will not contribute to your growth. So I want to, again, just bring up the idea that I said I got 20 in my first month. I dropped to 65 points in my second month, and I didn't get over 9 months, because every time I would recruit enough that the next month I would hit gold again, bam, 5 would quit. So a little mini success story, and I'm right on time here for you guys, is that count them, 2 of my most successful downlines are people that told me no. People that told me no the first month, the second month, the third month, the fourth month. People that told me no. One of them, her sister-in-law sold Plexus. I reached out to her during my first month. Hey, yeah, I've heard of Plexus. I took it. I lost 30 pounds with it. My sister-in-law sells it. Thanks for thinking of me. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's great. If you or your sister-in-law ever need any help, I worked at the corporate office, kind of know my stuff, kind of help. Well, 8 months later, we launched Lean. She sees it. Her sister-in-law had quit. That's what we're talking about, right? So who did she call? She called me. In the next 60 days, she recruits 20 people. And it just crushes it, like out of nowhere, right? And so, and what's funny, and full disclosure, what's funny is that the 3 or 4 people that when I've recruited them and they've signed on, I'll go to Ashley and I'm like, that girl's a jewel. That girl's gonna be a diamond. 30 days later, I'm like, she wouldn't even answer my calls, right? And so the person that I least expected to work the business, who's trying to lose a few pounds for her wedding coming up, bless her heart, you know, has created a little income. It definitely pays for her product and is building. And you know, and it's just somebody that I least expected. Another story, quick, is my physical therapist. And I was going to him for a period of like 8 weeks, and I see him 3 times a week, and we would bump elbows and, you know, shoot the breeze about whatever, football or whatever. And I really like him. I want to play golf with this guy, right? That's what I'm thinking when I'm there. I'm like, can we be friends, right? That type of relationship. And so Ashley, every time I'm leaving, and she'd be like, hey, like, you need to talk to him. And I'm like, it's at his place of business, whatever. I keep talking myself out of it. But finally, one day he's like, hey, I'm going to this wedding in like 8 weeks, and it's in Mexico. And I'm like, you know, I want to lose some weight, you know? And I was like, okay, here's your chance, Dave. Right. So I'm like, look, if I complain to you about my hip pain that I had for 2 years, and you didn't tell me you were a physical therapist, you wouldn't be my friend. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, when you tell me about a goal that you didn't tell you that I represent a product that can help you not just lose those pounds, but feel the best you ever have, I wouldn't be your friend. And he was like, Plexus, huh? And I was like, yep. And he was like, you know, 5 or 6 different people have come to me about Plexus. I still don't know. And I was like, perfect. Those 5 people planted the seed for me, and I'm going to harvest, because they didn't build a relationship. They didn't have any relationship with them. He didn't have any reason to want to sit down at lunch with them, because we would talk about whatever, fishing or football or whatever it was that we were talking. Particular day, we built a relationship. And so I didn't make the sale then. I gave him a 7-day trial, and here's what I said, right? I gave him a 7-day slim trial, and here's what I said. I'm like, look, this 7-day trial is not to help you feel better. It's simply for 2 things. A, so that you can taste it, and B, so that you can see how easy it is to implement into your daily regimen. You're not going to feel a monumental difference in 7 days. That's the 2 things that I want you to check out, right? And he was like, well, what is it? And I'm like, well, Slim was originally formulated by an endocrinologist to help people balance their blood sugar and their A1C. But what they found when they took it to trial is that it helps with so many other things, like yeast overgrowth and gut health, and it balances triglycerides, and it helps with a lot of stuff, right? There's all kinds of benefits to it. So what does he do? He does the same thing that every single person that I've ever handed to for free a 7-day trial. They put it in their desk drawer and they do not drink it. Well, just as long as we're on the subject. I have never one time signed up an ambassador, gave them for free a 7-day trial. If they bought it, even if they gave me $2, they're more likely to drink it than if I gave it to them for free. Okay? Don't hand those out. They cost you money. Okay? If someone's not willing to give you $5, they're not going to drink it and then give you 100. Okay? I just want to be blunt with you. Okay? I've never had a person sign up from a free 7-day trial. I'm not saying people don't. I'm sure they do. Okay? What I'm getting to is that 90 days later, he still had the 7-day trial on his desk. He got the shingles. He went to his doctor. They did some blood work, and his A1C was through the roof. Who did he think of? Me. He thought of me simply because when I gave him the Slim, I could have been like, oh, well, it tastes like watermelon. You're just going to feel better. Here, drink it. But since I told him why it was formulated, he thought of me. How can I naturally lower my A1C declining now for close to 60 days? He's headed in the right direction. I tell when I talk to him, still a little skeptic, right? Because of course, when you're 41 and you hear that you're pre-diabetic, that then like you change everything, right? You change what you eat, and you start working out more, and you drink more water instead of Diet Coke. You do all. He's still hesitant to believe that the Slim is what's helping his A1C, but knowing those little types of things and building the relationship is what gave me the opportunity for him to be on my team, and for me to, you know, to again, like, to utilize this vehicle, Plexus, to help better people's lives. And so, you know, the two lessons I would take away is that no doesn't mean no, it means not now. When somebody tells you no, that does not mean of your list, period. And the second lesson is to do a little homework, 1 or 2 sentences that you can say about each product. 1 or 2 product cards that you get in the welcome pack are super great, right? The talking points that are on there, 1 or 2 sentences about each product, about them. You can say, hey, I don't know everything about it, right? Dave is definitely not the crunchy mom, okay? I had, you know, like, I mean, so, but I know a couple sentences about each product. So if somebody asks me a specific question, the kids' vitamin, for example, completely 100% bioavailable vitamins within there, and 3 clinically tested vitamins. I know that. That's all I need to know. If you are a crunchy mom, here's the ingredients, right? I don't have any problem with that. But so I have 1 or 2 sentences. So no doesn't mean no, it means not now. And do just enough homework that you can give them. Here's what I do know. If you'd like more information, I can get you that. Is that something you'd be interested in? And then you go from there. That's what I got, an effort to, you know, to keep you guys entertained and learning, but also to be respectful of your time. You know, I know, Heather, you had mentioned that you guys do some question and answer. Do you record that as well, or do you typically, how do you proceed?
We can keep recording, or if you're fine with it, we can cut that off and have a couple minutes if anybody has questions.
Yeah, I'm totally okay either way. I can tell you that, you know, sometimes it eases be recorded when you ask that, right? You know, and so
that's good. I just wanted to make sure you're okay with that. So Tina, if you don't mind to stop the recording for us, and then